Join our family of creators. Your support means the world to us. Subscribe now to the Content Creator channel. Your support keeps us motivated and helps us bring you fresh, exciting content every week. Hit that subscribe button and be part of our journey.
The British government has just dropped a bombshell on the immigration system. It's a move that could shatter the dreams of hundreds of thousands of people who have built their lives in the United Kingdom. For years, the path to permanent settlement, what's known as indefinite leave to remain, ILR, bill was clear. You work here, you contribute, you follow the rules. After 5 years, you could apply to make this country your permanent home. But that well-trodden path is now being torn up. The government has decided to move the goalposts. They've moved them dramatically. This isn't a minor tweak, it's a fundamental overhaul of the system. Imagine planning your life, your family's future, your career, all based on a 5-year timeline. Now imagine being told you might have to wait 10 years instead. That is the stark reality facing countless skilled workers, professionals, long-term residents. The qualifying period for settlement is set to double for many common visa routes. Parts of these new rules have already come into force as of April 11, 2024, catching many completely off guard, throwing meticulously laid plans into chaos and uncertainty. The government says it's about taking back control, but for those affected, it feels like a betrayal. It's a change that impacts real people, real families, real futures, now hanging precariously in the balance. In this deep dive, we will cut through the jargon and political spin. We will lay out exactly what is changing, who is in the firing line, and what this means for you. We'll examine the new 10-year residency requirement, the confusing 12-month rule, and the stricter limits on time spent outside the UK. This is a critical guide for anyone whose right to remain in the UK is under threat. The rules of the game have changed. You need to understand them before it's too late. So, what exactly is happening? The core of these reforms, outlined in the government's white paper, is a direct assault on the established 5-year route to settlement. For decades, this has been the standard for skilled workers, others contributing to the UK economy. That standard is being dismantled. The new default is set to become 10 years. This extension creates a prolonged period of uncertainty for individuals and their families. But the changes don't stop there. A new, particularly confusing rule was implemented on April 11, 2024, targeting the 10-year-long residence route. It states that you must have held your current visa for at least 12 months before you can apply for indefinite leave to remain. Even if you've lived here lawfully for 9.5 years, if you switch to a new visa category recently, you may be forced to wait another year. This could be a devastating blow for those who thought they were just months away from securing their future, potentially penalizing people for career progression that requires a visa switch. Furthermore, the government is tightening the screws on how much time you can spend outside the country. The rules for continuous residence are becoming much stricter. Previously, there were more flexible calculations for absences over the entire residency period. Now, new, more rigid limits are being imposed, scrutinizing your travel on a yearly basis. This could easily trip up anyone who travels for work. This could easily trip up anyone who has family commitments abroad. Falling foul of these new absence rules could reset your entire residency clock, forcing you to start from scratch. The most pressing and frightening question for many is how these changes will affect people already in the UK. Are these rules retrospective? If you arrived 3 years ago on a skilled worker visa, fully expecting to apply for ILR in 2 years, will you now be forced to wait another 7? The government has been disturbingly vague on this point, mentioning consultations but offering no concrete assurances. This ambiguity leaves millions of people in a state of limbo. So, who is directly in the crosshairs of these sweeping changes? The first and largest group are the skilled workers. These are the engineers, the doctors, the IT specialists, the scientists, the financial analysts, who were invited to the UK to fill critical gaps in the economy. They came under the clear assumption that after 5 years of dedicated work and tax contributions, they would be able to apply for permanent settlement. Now, that promise has been shattered. Facing the prospect of their wait for security doubling from 5 to 10 years, they make major life decisions based on it. Buying a home, starting a family, enrolling children in schools. The sudden extension to a 10-year route throws all of this into disarray. It means another 5 years of paying expensive visa renewal fees, not to mention the recurring immigration health surcharge for their entire family. But it's the emotional toll of prolonged uncertainty that is perhaps the most damaging aspect for this group. It suggests they are viewed not as future citizens or valued members of society, but as temporary economic units, to be kept in a state of precariousness for as long as possible. It's a policy that could easily backfire, pushing highly sought-after professionals to look to countries like Canada, Australia, which offer clearer and more stable pathways to residency. In essence, by squeezing the skilled workers who are already here and deterring others from coming, the government risks undermining the very economic growth and innovation it claims to be promoting. Beyond the skilled workers on a 5-year path, another significant group is caught in this web: long-term residents. They have meticulously followed the rules, paid their fees, and built a life here over 10 long years. They were counting down the days until they could finally apply for settlement, only to find the rules changing just as they approached the finish line. The new 12-month rule requires an applicant to have held their current visa for at least a year, and is a devastating blow. It's a classic case of moving the goalposts at the last minute, creating a dilemma for those who have invested the most time. It places them in an extended state of limbo, where the security they have worked towards for 10 years is suddenly snatched away. The single biggest and most terrifying uncertainty is retrospective application. In simple terms, will new rules apply to people already in the UK, part-way through their journey to settlement? You came under the understanding you'd be eligible for indefinite leave to remain after 5 years. Will the government honor that or retroactively force you onto a 10-year path? This deliberate vagueness has plunged countless families into profound anxiety. This uncertainty creates a crippling inability to plan for the future. Without clarity on retrospective application, individuals and families are left in suspended animation. Yet their handling is creating the opposite: confusion, fear, and a deep sense of betrayal. Amidst the tough new rules, the government has dangled a rather vague carrot: the possibility of exceptions for certain people. They say high contributors or those in critical sectors might retain a faster route to settlement, but what constitutes a high contributor is one of the biggest gray areas. Will it be based on salary thresholds, or will it be determined by sector? Will NHS doctors be automatically considered high contributors? Will nurses? Or could a highly skilled but less publicly visible software engineer be excluded? This ambiguity risks a system seen as unfair and arbitrary. It opens the door to a two-tier immigration system, where your path to settlement depends on subjective judgment rather than published rules. You can't build a life plan on the vague possibility that you might one day be deemed a high contributor by criteria that don't yet exist. Beyond the headline changes, there's a lot of uncertainty buried in the administrative details. One prime example: absence calculations from the UK. Applicants now face a hybrid calculation. Old rules apply before 11 April 2024. New rules apply after 11 April 2024. That's a recipe for confusion and error. Another major uncertainty: the legislative process itself. The broader shift from a 5-year standard to a 10-year standard for many work routes has only been presented in a white paper. The final rules could look quite different from current proposals. This legislative limbo makes definitive advice very hard. The ground is still shifting beneath everyone's feet. Let's consider a hypothetical but very realistic scenario. Meet Anaya, a software engineer from India. She was headhunted by a major UK tech firm in 2022. She was attracted by the job and a clear 5-year path to settlement. Her life plan? Built around applying for indefinite leave to remain in 2027. If changes apply retrospectively, her weight doubles. 2027 becomes 2032. This isn't just an inconvenience, it's a fundamental breach of the promise that brought her here. Her company's main competitor in Canada is trying to recruit her. Canada offers a faster, more certain path to permanent residency. For Anaya, the decision is agonizing. Abandon the life she's built and start over elsewhere, or commit to another 8 years of uncertainty in the UK? Now let's turn to another scenario. Meet Marco. He is from Italy and moved to the UK in 2014. Marco has now lived in the UK continuously for 10 years. He was excitedly preparing to submit his application for indefinite leave to remain under the 10-year-long residence route. However, Marco's company was recently acquired. He was moved onto a new contract which required a fresh skilled worker visa. This new visa was granted on May 1, 2024. Because his current permission was granted after the critical date, Marco is now caught by the new 12-month rule. His partner, also from the EU, was waiting for him to get ILR before they could apply for a mortgage together. Now, their life plans are on hold for another year. Finally, let's look at the case of Chloe, a graphic designer from South Africa. She came to the UK in 2016. Each step marked her success and contribution to the UK's creative industry. In April 2024, she was offered a director-level role at a top advertising firm. That required switching back to a skilled worker visa. But her recent move unwittingly set a trap. Even at her 10-year anniversary in 2026, she won't be eligible for ILR. This is deeply ironic. The UK's immigration system is meant to attract ambitious talent. Yet the new rules punish career progression. Chloe is being penalized for her success. Chloe faces a choice: slow her career or accept prolonged immigration uncertainty. In summary, the landscape of UK immigration has fundamentally and dramatically shifted. The dream of securing permanent settlement after 5 years is being systematically dismantled for many. The path is not only longer, it is also narrower and filled with more tripwires. For those already here, the situation is defined by a worrying lack of clarity. The great unanswered question of whether these changes will be applied retrospectively leaves millions in a state of suspended animation. Ultimately, we are witnessing the creation of a more prolonged and probationary immigration system. The goalposts have not just been moved, they have been transported to a different field entirely. The first and most essential action is to conduct a thorough audit of your own immigration history immediately. Do not rely on memory. Secondly, stay relentlessly informed, but use reliable sources. Follow the Home Office official website, follow reputable immigration law firms. Third, seek professional legal advice now. Do not wait until a problem arises. A solicitor can assess your circumstances against the new rules, identify risks you may not have noticed, and help you strategize. Finally, prepare for the worst case while hoping for the best. Start budgeting for a potentially longer wait. Take these steps. Audit your history. Stay informed. Seek expert advice. Plan cautiously. Move from passive anxiety to proactive control. Give yourself the best chance to navigate this new immigration landscape.